tonight. We're gonna kick it off with some pretty big deal for TNA. Pretty big deal for TNA. So I know there's gonna be a lot of TNA folks in the chat. So feel free to sound off about TNA's ratings for this week. But I do want to get JD's thoughts on it. But I'll go ahead and just read from my story. So I posted a story on Patreon for free. So go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. The ratings articles are easy to write, so I don't feel like charging for them. So I just write those up and I just keep them there to kind of like it's the official record of what's going on in TNA. So TNA ratings week 4 on AMC from February 5th, 2026. So that episode delivered 241,000 viewers with a 0.05 rating in the adults 18 to 49 demo, according to WrestleNomics, who I think got it from Programming Insider, marking the strongest performance of the AMC era and the clearest signal yet that this move is not just sustainable, it's actually paying off. Additionally, they were ranked 61st for the night and posted a 0.07 rating in the 25 to 54 demo, which is something that we're going to be tracking now. I had not been really paying attention to that, but it is a number that people think that we should be paying attention to. So I'm going to start talking about it because I think, as younger people start, moving off of cable and live TV in general and just go to streaming apps, advertisers are starting to lean more heavily into that 25 to 54 demographic. So it's still the 18 to 49 demo is where the ranking comes in. So when I say that they're the 61st for the night, they had the 61st best rating in the 18 to 49 demo because that is the main target for advertisers, right? That's what that means. But the next most important is 25 to 54. And they had a 0.07, which is actually a little bit better. So to put that into perspective, this episode drew more viewers than every episode of Impact during its entire Access TV run. That was 6 years. And it surpassed every episode dating back to September 20th, 2018 from the Pop TV era. That is a big deal. And that episode did, I think, 229,000 the Pop TV. So this one beat that. The one that was the week before on the 13th, I actually have like an Excel sheet, and the one from September 13th did like 250 some odd. So it almost reached that. So pretty big week. JD, did you get the numbers? It's 241,000 total viewers and 0.05 demo for a TNA Impact this week. Pretty incredible when you think about it, considering we covered these ratings on Access and they were nothing.
I mean, it's not terribly surprising considering you have a bigger network with bigger reach. Product is significantly hotter than it's been over the last 2 years. And I find it interesting because this week also had a big uptick in the Dynamite number 2.
Yeah. So, I should get those numbers, by the way. Yeah, you go ahead and talk. I'm gonna get those numbers.
I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but one can say wrestling in itself is getting hotter. We're getting into WrestleMania season. Seems to be struggling to sell some tickets this year, TKO. I don't think that has to do with it. I think what's happening now is that Nielsen has finally course corrected itself. Because remember when we had these not new ratings, but new metrics to read the ratings, wrestling in and of itself took a humongous dump. Like everything was super down. So the fact that everything seems to have turned around at the same time leads me to believe that both products are significantly hotter than they were a year ago, which I don't think anybody can argue. AEW is on the upward, TNA is on an upward. They're both doing well considering where they are. 2, I think we're reading wrestling. We talked about before the show that Davey was talking about how because they were getting like 1 viewer per home is the way Nielsen was reading that.
Yeah.
Right. So, and Dave's like, there's no way that they're only reading less, like a viewer per home. So, I mean, these are this is like when people argue about ratings, a lot of times they're just talking out of their ass because they don't really know what they're talking about, right? It's like when you have a Nielsen rating, Nielsen is guessing, literally they're guessing how many viewers per home are watching, right? And it's not like these are just best guess estimates. So sometimes when you see we used to joke about the old Bracer Impact show, we used to joke about that our buddy Wade wasn't watching Impact one week because like he would text Mike and be like, "Oh man, I didn't miss the show this week," and the rating would always be like significantly lower.
Yeah,
So
because
that
it
was
was like one person with a Nielsen box equaled like 10,000 people.
right, and
Yeah,
that's literally what it was. So it's like this is and it's anecdotal evidence, but like when the numbers are as divided as they are in this day and age, and again, if this we're talking 10 years ago, 200,000 viewers wouldn't make it a week; they'd cancel that shit immediately.
yeah,
We're in a different world, where the TV, except for the Super Bowl, where the TV eyes are more divided than ever before. So the fact that everything seems to be turning up at the same time tells me Nielsen has finally course corrected, which is good news for AEW and for TNA because they can
yeah,
go both to advertisers and say, look, they were bringing them more money, right? Because
yeah,
ultimately, that's the only reason that ad dollars matter is for advertising, or excuse me, only reason why Nielsen numbers matter is for ad dollars. And what sucks is wrestling typically brings in shitty ads anyway.
yeah, for sure. So AEW Dynamite from last week did 300 or did 654,000 viewers with a 0.15 in the demo. The previous week did 0.09, but the viewership numbers were pretty similar. So, and they have, yeah, so and then the previous year was a 605,000 with a 0.17. So they're basically back to getting where they were from the previous year before big data took over, the big data and panel measurement thing. So it just seems like Nielsen has kind of like finally come around. They probably had enough people complaining, enough wrestling people complaining, hey, you're undercounting us. So now the number of homes are greater. And then, like you said, most importantly, the number of viewers per home, which they absolutely were shortchanging Impact and shortchanging Dynamite and Collision for, since, for a while. And it looks like that they're back on track. Now, one could argue that this is all fake and the bad numbers were the real numbers. I think that maybe, I don't know. So, but you take a look at the historical numbers for Dynamite and they're kind of back up to where they were a year ago. That kind of makes sense because I think the product is a little bit hotter than it was a year ago.
I think the product is definitely a little bit hotter than it was a year ago. And I find that it's a positive thing when you can actually keep your numbers around the same as they were a year ago in an era
Yeah.
where take NFL football, throw it out because that is an
Yeah.
outlier.
Yep.
Everything else trends down. Everything trends down. Like look at Raw from 1998, right? Just look at that metric. It goes like this. It goes like everything always, but it's not like because people are watching the show, let's which they kind of are. But I mean, like everything trends downward. So if you can stay flat from one year to another or show growth from where it was a year prior, that's good. I do think AEW is on an upward spike. TNA is definitely because just for the network change, we talked about this for years.
Yeah.
Like we really said, big new distribution deal, Gerard, for
Yep.
years because that's what they needed. They needed exposure on a bigger network, and it's clearly working.
Yeah, I'm really happy for them, and I'll tell you why. Because I thought they blew it. That first episode was so bad, and then we get the rating, and it's 173,000 with a 0.04. Not a terrible rating actually for them. Not terrible, but it's much lower than what AEW does like normally. Not AEW, AMC does normally. So it's like kind of on the lower end of their station average with their original programming, but it's much cheaper than their original programming. So it's like, okay, it's like it's like pretty cost effective and you're not really too far off of what you're normally doing. So I was like looking at it from an aspect like that, like that's like, it's not great, but it's not terrible either. It's something that they could sustain and probably be on the station for a while. Right. But now that it looks like that this has been course corrected, maybe we'll see. It's 2 weeks in a row they've grown. Right, 2 weeks in a row. So last week they were 201,000 with a 0.04, and then this week 241 with a 0.05. Yeah, that seems like steady growth to me. With a spike this week on a tape show with Ash by Elegance in the main event. So the Elegance brand against Indy Hartwell and Zaya Brookside and Lei Ying Lee in the main event, which I'm gonna put some of those ladies on the thumbnail for this clip. So we're so that somebody will see it, but it did great.
This is how you know this is just course correcting because there's no way that match specifically is
Yeah.
Raw. It's just not. That's just not real.
Well, no, that was technically the match main event, but they had an angle at the end of the show that they've been building up to, and then they had Steve Macklin turn a heel on Santana, which they had been kind of building. So they advertised that Steve Macklin was going to say his goodbyes, and sure enough, he said goodbye, and then he beat up Santana, and so now he's a heel, and looks like he's going to stick around. So
which we called on the show last week. So
yeah,
good, glad. I
yeah,
still think this. I still think the majority of this. Again, good show, doing well. People are excited about the product, but this is very clearly, this is very
yeah.
clearly Nielsen course correcting,
Well,
which is good. We want Nielsen.
yes,
We want Nielsen to read better numbers for wrestling, whether it's real or not. All that matters in the TV ad game world, all that matters is the perception of the rating.
yeah,
That's 100% accurate. All that matters is what some bean counter in New York who's trying to sell ads for State Farm Insurance can go, oh, that looks good. We'll buy
yeah.
that.
We'll buy that. All right.
Look,
So I'm gonna let Io in on this. I'm gonna let Io, our buddy. We are a little bit mean to him last week, so we're gonna let
apologize
him.
in
Hey,
advance.
we're gonna let him have a little victory lap. How about that? I think he deserves a little victory lap. He is the hardest working unpaid talent in TNA history, with as much as he tweets about TNA. But he says he can't get any higher than that. That's what some account said after week one. That was me. I said that. I was like, it's only gonna go down from there. But sure enough, um, it,
I
it
want,
did it did go up. But
I want a big asterisk next to that.
yeah, well, I think what we're seeing now is that everybody assumed that it would go down significantly. It not only did it not, it sustained for the
Mhm.
next couple of weeks, and then it goes up, and then this week there's the big spike because I think this is what they've been essentially what the numbers have been the whole time. Like that's my read on it because when they
Right.
got this TV deal, we assumed that they would be around this range. I was like 220, 225. That's what I was thinking,
When it
right?
came in at 170 for like your premiere episode, it's like that's a disaster. We said that
Yeah,
those disastrous numbers, but it
yeah,
turns out it's not. So I mean, like you just got to look.
yeah.
You have to accept the reality of which you are presenting.
Yeah. So the title is TNA is not dead. So a lot of TNA fans are going to be coming in and taking their victory laps and go for it, folks. I want to get a couple questions in. Nonzo says, can TNA get a 300K viewership at this rate? I look, anything is possible, but I think they would need a big star. I think if they get a big star, that is a possibility, right?
Yeah,
Because
maybe,
dude,
maybe.
yeah, they got access to Kenny Omega and they did 220,000 on Access TV. That was the highest rated show in the history of that channel. So if they were able to get a big star, bigger than AJ, like and sign them and like that's their guy, then yes. But will they be able to do that? I don't know. It seems like highly unlikely because as of right now, they're not making a ton of dough off of this show. If they were, then we would know about it.
So here's the thing. I'm a firm believer that the vast majority of professional wrestlers are themselves not draws.
Yeah,
Brands draw. So the if the company were to continue to get hotter, maybe. But I mean, like I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
yeah,
Maybe I just don't. Like if AJ and Chris Jericho were to sign, maybe if like Roman Reigns showed up
yeah,
or CM Punk,
yeah.
maybe. I
I
just
think
don't.
I think I think Roman if Roman Reigns or CM Punk, you're probably they'll get to like 400,000 or 500,000. I think I think that they would spike it, but that's never gonna happen. Like that's just not happening. Yeah.
No, I just at the moment where we are now, unless things continue to dramatically shift, I don't see that.
I think that a Jericho tease and surprise and a built up one time deal could he get them over 300 one time like the first time I think I could see that, yeah, because it's what 12 Nielsen boxes I think, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like if there would have to be there would have to be a conscientious marketing push
yeah,
outside of the program, and they're pretty good at grassrootsing their ticket sales.
yeah,
Grassrootsing ratings is a different story. So I mean, you would have to lean into your WWE leverage to
yeah,
make it happen. The only way they can get that kind of number is if WWE decided, okay, we're going to throw them a bone and really push them for a week.
yeah,
So
and for that to happen I think Collision has to go head to head or something like that. So I
yeah,
think, yeah,
or Dynamite or something like that. Maybe
yeah,
that would be an interesting experiment. That would actually be okay. I would actually want to see that for one week. If let's say
me
AEW
too.
Dynamite had to move to a Thursday for whatever reason, and they loaded up a Dynamite, and Impact had to respond and load up, and WWE decided to help them, what would those numbers look like for a night? That's a fascinating question.
That is a fascinating question. All right, so let's get to Carlos Silva. Carlos Silva copying. I think he might be making fun of Tony Khan here. I don't know, but he said 4 Thursday Impact shows, and the fourth was the biggest in 8 years on TV. Where'd you get that information, Carlos? You sure didn't know it. You posted this right after my article came out. I know you read it. It's cool. You don't have to give me credit, brother. But thanks to all I've watched. Everyone celebrate for a minute, but then it's back to work, making Impact even better. So that is one Carlos Silva, the man in the hat, big Carlos himself.
I don't know if he's making fun of Tony Khan and that. If he is,
No,
it's not
no,
terrible.
no, I don't think he's making fun. Like he's in a mean spirited way. I think it's more of a not even a dig, but Tony Khan did that the previous week for Dynamite, and whenever he released the numbers. So I think that's all that was.
It's a stretch. I think that's just. I think any executive for a company, especially when it's worked as hard as Carlos has, should
Yeah.
take a victory lap and you have a win.
Oh, yeah. I kind of dig that he's taking a victory lap. My screen's all wonky. Just give me a second.
See that
I
we
have
did
to,
some.
I did something to the screen. You guys are gonna be surprised to hear this, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Here we go. All right, we're back. We're
I'm
back.
not with this clear. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So
Yeah. Let's see. Stephen Patrick said Conrad Thompson, genius, said was saying if they shit the bed in the first episode, they were doomed, and he was wrong. Guys, I said the same thing.
dude, no, that's not. No. See, we're trying. No. We
Yeah.
can't play these retroactive games when literally when Dave Meltzer is even talking about how Nielsen is changing things again and course
Yeah.
correcting. So I
Yeah.
mean, like all you can do
Here.
is report on the numbers. If those are the legit numbers, TV ratings trend downward. They just do.
They
Now,
do. Yeah.
now TNA has been bucking some trends. So you
So
gotta
I
take.
think I think I did it in my article last week. I said normal rules don't apply to TNA.
They really
They
don't.
just don't. They just don't. All right. Let me see. Let me get to the Nielsen methodology. So this is from my article. Go to patreon.com/, the Mike and JD show. Free article because it's easy to write. It's also important to acknowledge the broader industry context. As detailed recently by Variety, Nielsen has implemented an update to how it measures television audiences, expanding the universe of households and devices counted. That change has resulted in higher reported total viewers and households across cable, very specifically cable right now, because NXT numbers have remained unchanged, but the other wrestling numbers have gone up. Particularly for live and live adjacent programming, and professional wrestling appears to be benefiting from it for sure. And I think that is the broader context. I think last week we saw some of that where TNA the number of households went up, but the number of viewers per household did not go up, and so that's why the number seemed like skewed in the total viewership. But this week it's been corrected, it seems. There was somebody had a question about the female viewership went up. Yes, I don't know what the number is though, but I did read it. The female viewership went up, but I'm not. So somebody was sending me like 12 to 17 demos and like female demos. I'm like, I can't get it. I can't, like, it's too much. I can't do all of that. But
The sample size is this small, and you cannot read into this. This
yeah,
is literally what you're talking about. Literally like tens. I'm sorry,
yeah,
but that's really what it is. It's like tens of people. So I mean,
right,
like, be careful when you're reading
yeah.
into this.
Yeah, relax a little bit. Let's see. AWN 415. TNA should bring in some main roster players to make cameos and then list a bunch of WWE stars. They can't just do that. They have to like request it. Like they don't have the power to be like, hey, give me Oscar. Like they have to make a deal.
So
But
like, AEW should ask Bad Bunny to show up on their show after everything
well,
that's been going on too. Like I should
he
ask.
might. He might actually, because Ruben Gallegos, the senator from Arizona, is like, hey, look, Bad Bunny, you need to switch teams and go to AEW. That guy's all aboard. The senator from Arizona.
That blew my mind. I saw that. That blew my mind today.
Yeah,
But that's my point. Is like,
yeah,
it's not like Carlos calls Triple Paul and it's like, hey man, give me all this. He don't he doesn't care that much.
no,
Like they enjoy helping TNA to spike Tony, but when you read into what's going on at WWE right now, they got to be full hands on deck with WrestleMania.
yeah,
Wrestling, like the story going around is tickets aren't selling, right? And the
yeah.
story, the
They're
story,
gonna,
their story
dude.
being is they have to correct. They're trying to figure out the right creative right now to get asses in the seats in Vegas. Or where's it's in Vegas this year, right?
Vegas, yeah. I got some buddies that went last year. They're like we would go this year, but they raised the ticket prices again. We're not doing that 2 years in a row. It's just not happening.
And
It's
it's like
ridiculous.
TNA, excuse me, TKO is very inept. Like
Yeah.
they're just trying to maximize profits right now at a time when the economy is not doing very well. So I mean, like, it's really stupid. But that being said, they're not going to do that. They're not going to give them all these main roster stars because one, that doesn't, and TNA shouldn't do that. They shouldn't allow it to happen because one, that does not help their brand.
No.
Showcasing a bunch of WWE main roster stars who are going to go away tomorrow doesn't help you sell tickets.
Yeah. Yep. And you know, so I think the numbers being as high as they were last week, I think you do got to give some credit to TNA and the TV show being better lately. I think you do.
You do.
I think Nielsen, the change is a big factor in it, but I also think that the TNA holding on to their audience and growing, being able to grow it, and it seems like the demo rating isn't really a big part of the Nielsen. But what I want to the point I'm trying to make is last week they only had one NXT star on the show, and he's a lower level guy. It was
Sad.
Stinks Lorenzo. So he's not really affecting it. I think TNA needs to try to do their best to do as well as they can on their own merit and not become dependent on WWE talent for their shows, because Delirious will tell you how that ends up for you if you become dependent on another company's main stars, right? Ring of Honor was being built up by the Young Bucks and New Japan for a couple of years. And when they didn't have access to those talent, what happened to them? Delirious was booking TNA now, right? Like, that's just the way that it goes. You can't become dependent on that.
No, he's what he is. I think that too is one thing you have to ignore about TNA is TNA fans are remarkably loyal. I mean, this
Yeah.
show is a great example of that. Like most television programming, AEW and WWE considered. If there's a bad episode of TV, you're gonna lose some viewers. Like people like, I don't want to watch this. TNA fans will come back.
Yeah.
They'll come back.
Yep. TNA will survive the apocalypse. TNA is not dead. It is surely alive. I did tweet out that picture. Do you remember the God's Not Dead movie with
Yeah.
Kevin Sorbo and Dean Cain?
I know of it. I never watched it.
Yeah. So Dave Meltzer, when he tweeted out the ratings here, I'm gonna pull this up. When he tweeted out the ratings, sure enough, I went ahead and made a graphic because that's what I do.
Of course.
Yeah, I made a little graphic. So yeah, TNA is not dead. Using the movie poster from that.
That's good. Nice job.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to say how I did it because some baby pygmy elephants in the Sudan died for me to make that, unfortunately. So I'm sorry, but it only took me a couple of seconds to make it. So how could I not just hit the button and say, "Hey, make this for me"?
What it is, man. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, we gotta embrace it.